Yes, so finally we are live. I had to stop the first one. Like I was trying to say that one. It's my first time coming live on Facebook. It's looking as if I was not sure how I would do that, but then yeah, we have it covered. It just reminds me of my days in the media house where our director would say, "Are you ready? In one, two, three, and we go." And yes, we are live. So my name is Dolapo Esther Babatunde, in case you are coming across this for the very first time. And yes, I'm the creative director of DollyhadasCraft that started during my NYSC journey. The story is quite interesting and beautiful, even if over a long period of time I've always written about it in text. But then when it comes from my voice, when you actually watch me share my story, you might be able to relate better. And how did it start? So first, although I've started documenting this story of mine to be put on my YouTube platform, but I'll start like this. It all happened in the year 2024, and I would like to backdate that period as in 2023, 2022, close to my graduation. I already started building my career in the media space. I love, you see the way I'm just shining and smiling on camera. I enjoy it so much. The camera is not my friend, it's not something that's frightful. So I was building my career part in that one, hosting events, red carpet. I've done several voiceovers. I've hosted, shows, events on television. Yeah, it was an online TV at the time. But then NYSC came, yeah, and I actually wanted to serve. Besides, it was becoming like, when are you going to serve? All of your mates have gone to serve. I was going to serve at roughly around, I admitted in 2022. I went to service year in 2024. So I had some of my classmates at that time that have gone for their service year. So it was becoming an issue, African parent now. When are you going to serve? Where to serve? So, okay, I decided I was going to serve. And I applied around that October. I was supposed to Akwa Ibom. I did not go for some reasons. But then I said, okay, I will go in January with batch A1. Unfortunately for me, I could not go with batch A1. That was the time NYC started pushing batches to, spillovers. So I was now in the second spillover for batch A2. And I like to talk about this part. At that time, it was painful, of course, but not anymore. Few weeks to the period where we get our call up letter, I had a very serious heartbreak. My fine relationship at the time, just that I was already building skyscraper on, just fell and crashed just like that. And so sorry, I'm laughing. And I have to mention this because at that time, there is this feeling that, okay, when you finish from school, when you go and serve, you will just go and get married, you understand? But then my relationship broke, in a few weeks to NYSC, and then I was just like, okay, instead of mourning, imagine going to an entire new, oh god, I must actually had that. Then my call-up letter came and it was Benue State. Like, what a way to break somebody's heart another time. Because from our side, the news that is selling this part of Nigeria is not actually something that is beautiful. In fact, when I started telling people that I was posted to Benue State, people started saying, abeg, just wait for the next batch. Just wait for the next batch. You can, it's not compulsory. The amount of this I don't want to mention it because I don't want to be a part of selling that kind of bad story. I just felt like, but I just counted the odd. Like, I think now that I think about it, I feel like I just wanted to be away, something that I will not have to think about that outbreak. Yeah, now that I went for my NYC and jumped on the bus that was going to bring us to camp and all, and then I made one promise to myself. I was never going to sit down and mope around that my heart was broken. I told myself, you are going to enjoy your stay regardless of anything. So you could not even tell. And because of that, I was so occupied. I was in the OBS, I was in the special masha, I did drama. Okay, I did not dance because I don't know how to dance. I sang, I pitched, I engaged in a debate. What else did I do? Yes, I also, because I have an idea in how to sew dresses. I also competed and I came third. Like, yeah, I did all of those things. And trust me, anybody that has gone for NYC knows that it's usually very stressful and you cannot really be that occupied. Also, in my side, girl, I was very, very active. I even sold things right there. So the bottom line was I actually wanted not to be, preoccupied with any form of, okay, there's no relationship here and there. And yes, that phase went. But then also something remarkable happened as well that I must actually mention. When we were in camp, people that wanted to repost or relocate, usually it happens right on camp. And our time was the very first time that you could not, have handwritten reposting. You actually have to, put it online. And then, trust me, I wanted to go back to the west, to southwest, and continue my media journey. I was even in communication with somebody. I said, okay, even if it's radio, even if it's television, anything at all, so far it is that part, I would like to continue it. And it did not work. Why? Because you actually have to document that you are either sick or you're married or there's insecurity issue. Trust me, no matter the news you see online, Benue State is not part of the state that there is insecurity issue, except a certain area. And that is just like that. So I was not sick, and I have this fear, like, how will I document on a very standard platform of NYC and say somebody is sick when I know that I'm not sick? So yeah, I had that. No, I cannot lie. And then also I just said that, I cannot also, I'm not married. There was no urgent marriage at that time too as well. So Benue it is. Now I was posted to Mafudi plenty premium tiers. If I always tell people that, no matter what it is, except you know somebody that knows somebody, NYC will break your heart in several ways. Yes, excuse me. NYC will break your heart in one way or the other. So I got my PPA. I didn't like the PPA at the time. The first one was crazy. I literally went to the NYSC secretariat and I was crying. I said, you see this place you have posted me, I cannot stay there. I cannot stay there because I was seeing hot. I'm not gonna live there. Then I went to the next one. Long story cut short, I was still posted to a school. And trust me, with all of the things I began to encounter, I just told myself that, God, I cannot wait to go back home. Trust me. Even DollyhadasCraft have not been better at that time. Just told myself, I cannot wait to go back home. Like, the stress is too much. At some point, it was as if you are the one paying federal government and all of those kind of things. So you have to settle. So I was actually one of those core members that was looking forward to going back home. And this is the point where I tell anybody who is looking to go for their NYC service here. For me, I'll say it's a good thing, yeah. But then never fall into the trap of you doing countdown to go back to your house. I believe that you should experience every single thing that the year has to offer. And now, continuing with my story. So at some point, I just told myself, I just cannot allow this year go just like that. I cannot allow it to go like that. So I started saying, okay, what am I going to do? And that makes me talk about the fact that if you are in a new environment, there is a way that the environment opens your eyes to see the things that are in this new environment that are not in your own, or the things that are in your own that are not in this new environment. So I think that is the gap that you need, that you see difference, that you see a spot that you can fill in. And then that was how I started. Like I said, I was posted to a school, so I was going to school back and forth, go back home and rest. I just said, no, I cannot continue like this. Then I noticed something. It was very weird. I was noticing that the children were carrying very weird kind of basket to school. The last time I used basket was in my primary school, and I meant real like I was in primary school. That's like 2006, 2007, 2008, and this is that was 2024. Like, who carries baskets to school? And I was a teacher. Then also I noticed that some children were not carrying school bag to school, and because they don't have bags, or the bags they have is torn, so if rain was falling, they will not come to school with their books and all of those drama. And I just feel like, why is all of this? Why is it like this? And that's why it occurred to me that, wait, you have the skill, how about you do it? I started ruminating with the whole idea. You have the skill, how about you do it? Then also, especially about the fact that it's not just about, yes, I have the skill, but my skill really does have an edge. My products are actually very durable. Like, they were made with intention to actually last the test of time and all of this. Like, we basically want to solve the problem of having to replace school bag and lunch bag. If you are watching here, you know any parents, you can just tag them. You can just tag them in the comment section and let them hear this, because I strongly believe that your school bags or lunch bags of your world should not dictate to you when you should change them. Yeah, you can dictate when you're going to change them. We've had series of, oh god, this lunch bag is not spoiling and all. So yeah, we've had series like that. Is actually what we do, and I just said, you know what, I think I can start this, and that was where the journey of, yes, I think I can start this. I can start something like this started from. At this point, I feel like I just want to stop here. I'm going to stop my story here. I'll continue tomorrow. And one of the reasons why I just want to do this is, for me, I see it as just documenting my journey. I don't know what might come in from within the next 40 days. God help me. I'll share my stories. I'll share the stories of the people we have reached, the customers we have reached, what you stand to gain from it, like how being a part of this story can help those around you. So let me stop here. I'll continue tomorrow. If you listen up until this moment, thank you very much. See you on day 2 as I continue my story. Meanwhile, I must tell you that in the space of 2 years, we've reached over 1,200 people using my product at this point, and I'm very excited about that, and it just makes me reflect and say, wow, I am glad I took that action. Also, we'll be 2 years by July 29, and I have plenty giveaway for that period. So see you. Thank you for staying. Bye bye.